Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we ran a couple more Void Crusade missions, got a data slate we can't do anything with, and now we only have 2 missions left. We'll finish with this one and then go do... I have to check the map what we're doing for our last one. Top left, so Eldar. Yeah, 82 difficulty versus 89. Ooh, 545% damage suffered. That's a little, it's a little high. Look at that. End loot bonus, 485. That ought to be nice. But let's knock this literal easy mission out. Hunt. You know what, we'll toss some cards on here. We'll do psalm codes, credits, not credits because I'm not dealing with warp heat or heat resist, tarot cards and Empyrean seals, yeah, movement speed and more guys in melee, that's fine. It is Tyranid, so it's gonna be a lot of guys, but whatever. Don't care about glory, HP and warp resist, sure, whatever.
The enemy is here, preying on the weak and using craven tricks against the defenders of mankind. Perhaps we should find their leaders and give them a fair share of their own medicine.
Oh, my damage bonus wore off. I think I'll reapply that before I go into the final mission, just to be safe. I'd rather go in with a 50% damage up than not. But I was looking at more wargaming stuff because I was really on a kick looking for games that have PvE rules, since there was the fan-made stuff for X-Wing, and I was looking at that. I saw some people made fan-made rules for Kill Team, which I was really interested in, but then I realized, knowing me, I would want to buy all the Kill Team boxes so that I have all the terrain, and that's going to be a couple $100 easy, considering like the current one's 130, 150. So if I do that across, I think there's 4 sets, you know, $600 just on the nose is gonna hurt. But I was looking at other games I could think of, and one of them was Dust 1947, aka Dust Tactics, aka some other names because it's been shopped around like 3 times. But I was looking on their website, I was like, oh, I want to look at the miniatures, I want to see what's up, because I remember they were coming out with like the Mercenary faction and the Mythos faction, they had a Cthulhu and all that stuff. And I went to the site, and there was nothing new. I thought, this is a little peculiar. I haven't been on here in a while. So, I'm like, okay. They have a Facebook page. I think, okay, I'll go to the Facebook page. There's people always on Facebook. Click the link. Link's broken. I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. Usually a link's only broken when it comes to like a Facebook link and stuff. It's because the page is gone. So I keep looking around. I go to, I think, Miniatures Market. I'm looking on there. I'm like, okay, let's see what they got on here, because they always have miniatures on Miniatures Market. If they didn't, that would be a complete misnomer for them at that point. So I look, and they have a bunch of miniatures. I'm like, okay, looking through. I notice they're all like 10% or more off. I'm thinking, okay, cool. I look. Miniature, out of stock. Next one, out of stock. Out of stock. Almost all of them were out of stock at that point. And I'm thinking, that's strange. I never find miniatures on these sites out of stock. And if they are discontinued, they just don't sell them. There's a clear difference between something that is out of stock and something that is discontinued. And why would you advertise for things you have discontinued? So I'm sitting there, I'm looking, I'm starting to wonder. I'm thinking to myself, is the game dead? Because that's a lot of stuff to just be discontinued. It's a little peculiar. So, I go to the most reliable source on the internet, Reddit. And yes, that's absolutely sarcasm. Figure I should mention it because some people can't tell with me. But so I'm looking, and someone asked that literal question. Is Dust 1947 dead? And people are going, yeah. Apparently a mix between just like a lack of sales from COVID and other means that I couldn't find resulted in it getting shut down. Which shocked me. But at the same time I started thinking about it and I was like, you know, I'm also not surprised. Because Weird War II is not a new concept. The whole kind of pulpy Nazi superweapon kind of shtick has existed since pulp comics. That's some like Doc Savage kind of level stuff, which is fine. I absolutely love it. I love that kind of pulpy sci-fi old school stuff. I think it's fun. But the problem is, in terms of the miniature market, Bolt Action already had him beat. Because Bolt Action has a line that is flat out just World War II. You want to see a Chaffee tank or a Calliope or a Katyusha or some old-ass Russian tank, you want to see a Panzer, they got them. But then they also have Conflict 47, which also, I think part of what kind of screwed them was they also had the name 47 for Dust, which really didn't help them much. But they have a full line. And instead of how Dust is like, oh yeah, here's the U.S. Army, the U.S. Marines, the Blutkreuz, whatever, essentially Germany, but not Hitler. Because the lore is they killed Hitler and now it's just like the Vril Society leading everything. Which is whatever. It's an interesting idea.
Is measured in blood.
But they have that. They barely touched on Imperial Japan. They have mercenaries who are all women, which from the setting doesn't make sense. I'm not sitting here like, ugh, girls in my game. No, I don't care. My thing is it's just kind of weird to be like, it's an all-female mercenary unit? That's peculiar, especially in the 1940s. The idea of the modern mercenary still isn't really a thing yet. We don't see that until the Congolese War in the 50s and 60s, I think. I think it's early 60s. It's where you find like a lot of Belgians and stuff going out there to fight. But the 40s didn't have that. And I know, arguing historical accuracy in a miniatures game where there's mechs and zombies and intelligent gorillas with machine guns, it's not exactly a winning battle here, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's still just peculiar. But that's all they had. They had barely touched on them. They had China and Russia rolled together as the SSU, the Sino-Soviet Union, which historically, good luck with that one. Russia and China were allies simply out of convenience. Those nations hated each other. That's why China invaded, I think, Cambodia. Or no, they invaded Vietnam, and I think they might have tried Cambodia as well, but I know Vietnam because they were backed by Russia. And they didn't like Russian influence on a neighbor when it should have been them influencing the neighbor. But so it's just a very peculiar setup. But then you look at Conflict 47, bolt action stuff, and they have fully fleshed out Japan with a bunch of cool tanks. They have Italy, they have the US, they have Britain with like robots that look like IG-88 with a doughboy helmet on, which admittedly I love the look of them. They have they have some stuff for China, but it's mostly just bolt action. But in general, they have a lot more factions. Italy alone surprises me, but there's just a lot more, and they didn't have to rely on a mercenary faction. Cthulhu stuff, I was all hyped for the Cthulhu stuff. I wanted that. But they didn't get very far with it. And of course, it was every unit was like a guy with a robe or was a guy with a fez. Which, I don't know, I feel like you gotta use fezes kind of sparingly. Not out of some, like, racial or stereotypical issue, but more of just a lone dude with a fez looks cool, but a bunch of dudes with fezes kinda just looks goofy. Maybe it's just the influence of movies on me, but a lone dude with a fez is far more menacing. Okay, cool, we got all the info fragments. Which is a good sign, because that means we should be able to pick our loot very easily. I'll quick grab a buff out of the box. I would like one of these. And let's go finish this whole Void Crusade. Ah, that's gonna hurt. The Void Crusade will end if you succeed or fail. Yep, don't really have any other options here.
The very existence of this filth defiles the Imperium. They may be great in numbers, but if we sever the head, the body will die. Kill their leaders and break their will.
Yeah, thank you, Caius. But, back to Dust 47 and 1947 and everything. I think the problem, one of the big problems, was just the setting in general being so close to Bolt Action and Conflict 47, while being the inferior version. Yeah, they had cool mech designs, the tile system for ranges I thought was brilliant. It simplified a lot of things, and they also had rules for normal measurement ranges if you want to play that way. But I think what they should have done was change the setting. Instead of being simply 2 years after World War II, what they should have done was make it the far-flung future of 2009 and explain that World War II never ended. It was just a series of treaties and treaty breaking that resulted in conflict, then a few years and then a few years off, and then conflict again. And it was just this continual drag on society and on the world. And as a result, what would happen is there'd be immense resource depletion. A lot of land would just be wasted because no one could use it because it's blasted away, or it's mined, or it's a no man's land. And as a result, these factions would start looking to space, both to expand their dominions and to start mining and getting resources for the war. This way, you could explain these advances in engineering very easily, being like, oh yeah, these weren't like bizarro super weapons that came out of just nowhere while, Berlin's getting bombed. These are things that were made over decades. These are iterative. And while they're not perfect, you don't have exactly man-portable Tesla cannons and stuff. You still have your setup teams, but it makes a little more sense. And then you can... First, there's a lot more options for environments. You can do some cool space colonies, or space stations, or anything you can imagine. It's space, it's sci-fi, go crazy. But I think that would be a good option. Because it's less, I think, punishing, or not necessarily punishing, but less limiting. Because that's a big problem with setting it just after World War II. The only problem is, like, the Mythos faction doesn't really have much they can do off-Earth. But you could just say that these cults form everywhere. And in general, I think it would be a good alteration. Because it reminds me of the game that is out, Marauders. It's World War II and into the 50s tech mixed with sci-fi. You got guys using STGs and bars while boarding spaceships. And that's pretty cool. But unfortunately, dust has gone the way of the dodo. Hopefully someone buys it, or something happens that can revive it. Fantasy Flight ran it for a bit. I think Asmodee had bought it, and then they sold it, and it became... Because they ran it when it was Dust Tactics. And I wish they would just kind of buy it again. Because now that it's dead, it kind of sucks, because anybody with those miniatures is, by and large, SOL. And if you're getting into it now, you're doubly SOL. Because what can you do? You're going to be scraping along trying to buy the last few boxes. You're going to be calling around any hobby shops or looking at eBay lots and Amazon, hoping someone's hawking them and not at a steep price hike, which people probably will start doing. Because it becomes a limited edition thing. Oh, they don't make these anymore, it's fancy. It's disappointing though. I thought it was a cool game. They were just starting to get into hero units effectively. They had one guy who was Winter Child, I think, who was essentially Soviet Iron Man. Which was kind of cool, I liked it. And you could even explain, just thinking more for lore-wise, you could explain how, like, Germany and everybody's still able to field so many troops after what would be essentially 6 to 7 decades of war with very little stopping, or at least intermittent stopping. Cloning. You already got magic crystal powered mechs that defy even our current engineering level. Slap cloning in there, you got zombies. Go nuts for donuts. Like, I think at a certain point when it comes to lore and settings, you cross the Rubicon and you can just do whatever. When you got Soviet Iron Man and Nazi zombies, like, you're already there. Have fun. That was something too with Bolt Action's Conflict 47. They also had Japanese zombies, which I thought was cool. I love one of their tanks. It's essentially a scorpion, where the turret, like the tail, the stinger is a turret. It looks so cool. I love it. It's one of those things where I'm just like, yes, that whoever designed that deserves a pay raise, flat out. I love that design. I think it's cool. And I do appreciate with bolt action stuff, it's like, yeah, you can just have, like, our railgun powered, or like, railgun turret Panzer tank, but you can also just use, like, normal tanks, that's fine. Which would make sense in a war setting. You don't have 100% of the equipment you need. You're going to be using stuff that isn't refurbed, or you're not able to resupply every unit when new stuff comes out. So you're gonna have guys using older stuff. Look at the current wars going on, Ukraine. There was footage of soldiers with 1920s, 1930s Thompsons from the 1941 Lend-Lease program. Mint condition Thompsons. Because they were just in storage. You got guys using DP-28s. Once again, World War II era stuff. Once you always have extra crap in storage, and you're not able to supply everyone, so sometimes people get old crap. Admittedly, those Thompsons, God, that's awesome. Someone found, and they were recorded using a crate of STG-44s. I'm like, how do you still have a crate of Sturmgewehrs? Those are relics. Those haven't been made since the Second World War. It fascinates me. I also saw, I think it was a Maxim gun with a hollow sun sight on it, and that just made me a little sad. I'm like, oh, why'd you do this to this poor gun? Why is there a hollow sight on it? It was never meant to go out this way. There's one picture of a guy equipped with an FN-2000. No one uses FN-2000s. Admittedly, those things are drippy as hell, and I would love one. They look so cool. I love that sleek look to them. Organic flowing lines on weapons look so good.
No pity.
But just seeing stuff like that, you can draw analogies to current day where not every military unit gets all the gear they need. So you can have normal weapons, you can have normal units. Yeah, you got these dudes in dope power armor, but you're still gonna have infantry that are wearing at best a flak jacket. You're gonna have guys who are still using bolt-action rifles while you have power armor troops. They're most likely going to have to retreat or be supported with grenadiers to deal with power armor troops, but they would exist. I just have a soft spot for weird war stuff, and I love World War II history. I think it's a fascinating time. I know it's practically a meme of guys who have an interest in World War II, but that, World War I, the antebellum period kind of leading up to it, the rise of steamships, ironclads, stuff like that, I think it's fascinating. But I think that's generally just really cool, the advent and adoption of weapons technology. One thing I find fascinating in modern day is the advancement in, like, not exactly electronic warfare, though E-war is fascinating. It's the rise of interconnected equipment for soldiers. Stuff like the Land Warrior system. Or there's some new system that came out that was using a headset Meta was making, and all the troops who tested it were like, yeah, this makes me want to puke. Stuff like that's fascinating because it's an interesting step in what conflict will be in 10 years, 20 years, what a standard loadout will become. Imagine having quite literally like a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet or Clone Trooper helmet with low light vision, so it's got night vision, it's got thermals, it has a HUD for your weapon, a reticle that syncs up with your weapon, it has an ammo counter, it has built-in range finders, potentially a mini-map showing the local area. There's a lot that could be added, and there is a degree of how much does your average grunt need? Do they really need to know the humidity? A marksman might need it, because things like humidity affect bullet trajectory and what have you. But your saw gunner, he just needs to know how heavy his weapon is, which he can feel, and where the enemy is facing. The times I've talked with guys who are saw gunners, I've realized they're literally the definition of front towards enemy. You know, the little embossing you see on the front of claymores? Those guys are absolutely those kind of people. Just like, yep, point me at whatever I gotta just pop shots at. Great people. I absolutely love those guys, but some of them are kind of goons. But that advancement in tech is something that has to be questioned. You know, what do you need? What is unnecessary? How much does this stuff weigh? Because there was reports of the early, I think, this was before Land Warrior, I think, or it was Land Warrior, back in like the 90s. And they had this big, you had to carry like this hefty battery pack, and you had to carry essentially a computer on your back. And of course, keep in mind, this is the 90s. These are not, you know, some little smartphone kind of dealy-bob like we got now. This was a full, like, tower desktop strapped to your back. And all the reports from these guys were like, yeah, this is hell. This is so heavy, it sucks. And reading the descriptions, like the reviews from the soldiers, it was these people who were just like, yeah, I don't know who thought of this, but they did not think of the actual person using the gear. But it's cool. I always find it interesting. It's everybody talks about tactics and, oh, if so-and-so did this, they would never have lost this war. That's in the past. We can learn a lot from different, just progress like benchmarks when it comes to conflict. One interesting thing was the British, I believe after World War II, were experimenting with like 280 rounds, 270s, and it's essentially the 6.5 caliber that we're using today. They were experimenting with that decades ago and didn't get very far. And I think part of it was they didn't see a practical use for it. Oh, regeneration tower. That's actually a problem in this situation. But yeah, looping back to dust tactics and all this stuff, because that was the point of all this. The game's dead, unfortunately. I'm really sad. I need to heal a lot. That would be a project I would love to work on, is that game. I died like an idiot. Oh well, this is the last mission. I got 2 lives. I can afford it. this should go pretty easy from here on in. Because that tank should be at like 2,000 health. 1,000. I was off.
Success is measured in blood.
I'll take all that money off you. I think I'm close to finally recouping the 4 million I blew on that one item upgrade. God, that's really sad to say out loud. Could be worse. I could have said I blew like $300,000 on an NFT that's worth $10. I'd feel a lot more ashamed if I did that. One thing I did like too, just kind of thinking more on Dust 1947, was they had really cool air vehicles. Because they had, for the SSU, they had a helicopter that was like a Stumpy Hind, which I thought was neat. I like it. It looks kind of goofy, I will admit that. But I also just... I like seeing stuff like that, the helicopters, because they were being started during World War II. The first helicopters were just around that time, they just weren't utilized much. Because it was still very experimental technology. But they were there. So it's cool to kind of see that, and I'll keep saying it, I'm a sucker for weird war stuff. I'd love to make a miniature game that's like modern day military versus Cthulhu. I know Lovecraftian horror has been beaten to death, but I still love it. I think in general, someone with the right drive, whether it's a tabletop war game or a video game, they could do some really cool stuff. It's just people need to start actually making interesting things. Everybody does the same, it's 1924 and I'm a chain-smoking ex-military private eye who shows up in mysterious Maine coastal town number 582, where the town is completely choked in mist, and I'm here to investigate why there's all these fishmen. Like, cool, dude, that's... I've seen this way too many times. I can tell you exactly how this story goes down. Someone's going insane. Cave. More fish people. Bigger cave. Creepy carvings. Cthulhu. Someone has to do something to spice it up here.
Take it like a man.
It's kind of the curse of ever since Lovecraft stuff fell into public domain. It's just kind of like one of those fallbacks for hacky writers. And no one's willing to really push the envelope or develop something new. And it's not that hard. If I can come up with stuff, anyone can come up with stuff. I am not some kind of paragon of creation. I'm just a average dude with some time on his hands. Hey, loot chest.
Remarkable. The soul-bound wolf protects the chest.
I did not see any red stuff in there, so kinda sucks, but whatever. I guess at that point there was money, so that's nice. Wow, this mission is not taking long, but it feels like it's taking long. I think it's just the tankiness, which, once again, I am thankful that I grabbed that damage up, because this would have taken far longer, and I think against that wave serpent, I probably would have died another time at some point along the fight. Also, nice side note I want to bring up. I'm happy the Eldar don't do the, like, Psyker death explosion, even though a number of them are Psykers. Because it's a cool effect, it makes sense in lore, I hate it. It's annoying fighting a guy and he's just like falls over and just like, and he dies, and just shockwave kills everyone. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it wipes out my guardsmen. And these idiots have enough of a time trying to stay alive. I don't need the psychic aftermath fart to wipe them out. I wish you could heal them, because, I mean, you probably can if you're a tech adept, you can probably heal them. But tech adept, I am not. That said, I already mentioned it before, but I will be playing a tech adept when the next season drops. Because why not? I haven't done a run with him yet. That will leave the season after to be a Crusader, and then I will have played as everybody. Except the Sororitas, which still really up in the air for me. I also don't know realistically where they fall combat-wise, because every like overview I've seen of them goes and says, yeah, they're like a mix of everybody, and that kind of scares me, because mixing every class together doesn't make a good class. Well, it either makes a bad class or it makes an overpowered class. Some people are saying they're overpowered, which doesn't surprise me. That's classic trying to sell something in a video game 101. Make new thing, make it overpowered, sell for money. Once money starts to dry up, nerf thing. Oh yeah, they have warp resist, I think. No, that was the last mission.
Don't linger, guardsman.
No, all my guardsmen are dead. Oh, I got a void shard out of that. I was kind of hoping it would have been the tall Wraith construct for the last one. Because the fire prisms suck the most. Wave serpents suck because they keep spawning guys. And they have a actually decent armament on them, which makes them an annoyance. But the big mech guys are kinda easy to avoid. Hey, he's dead.
Now you can watch the body wander aimlessly until it withers and dies.
Oh, there was a turret here.
Glory to the
Huh.
Emperor. It is time to reap the rewards of your crusade, Inquisitor. There must be a teleport beacon nearby.
Let's get some loot. We got 5 of 6 keys, all info fragments. I like that each location seems to have their own reward room. That's a nice little add-on. This way they all feel like they fit. Alright, Supreme Void Chest. Okay, the Purity Seal, bunch of decent stuff. Psalm Codes, Morality Relics, Unknown, oh, I'm apparently full up. I can't remember. I think blue is worse. So I gotta just start dumping blues. Yeah, because I didn't understand why they had green as better than a blue. I really should just disable... I thought I disabled collecting blues. I think the game started... like the last update undid that. Or I might have did it because it was screwing with my progress on other characters. Well, regardless, we're just mulching all this. It would have got mulched anyways. Oh dear God, that's a lot of blues. I just realized, looking at the Inferno Pistol, I don't think they have those in Darktide. Bruh. We don't have anything in that game. Wow, I've already gotten 5 more intels. That was fast. I don't think I'll need to clear these out, but we'll clear some of them out just because. I know that las pistol's gonna go bye-bye. That force rod, yeah, because it's one-handed. Alright, let's just pick all this up. Okay, so unknown, morality relics, unknown, ancient relics, crafting materials, unknown, archaeotech, unknown. Okay, so we got 5. Well, for certain, morality. That did not look good. Ancient relics. That didn't look good either. Okay, so we're not going to do crafting materials. That's unknown. The psalm codes I don't need. So we have 3 with potentially 5 options here. Archaeotech relics. No, we'll take it. Okay, some decent stuff. And now we have 4. We're going to do what I did last time. We're going to pull up a dice roller. And we are going to figure this out and let chance take the control of this. Alright, so from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4. First off is 1. Blueprints. That kind of sucked. Alright. So left is 1, 2, then 3. 2 it is. Okay, it's not bad. Could have been better, could have been worse. But we'll have to go back and see what our loot is. Yay! Void Crusade completed! Alright, let's get through this loot. I don't really want to give up a casting slot. Don't really want to give up casting. That's not useful. Two-handed pyrokinetic staff. If it had a nether perk, that'd be great. But unfortunately it doesn't. Sword, don't care. Void shield, no. Signum, no. Armor, I need the 6 slots though. That's the kicker. Also, it's not a casting armor, so it's not that good. Sword, no. Okay. See, this is another one. If I had another... Okay, the -1 spreads the waste. If it had another perk, it would be good. Because 57% damage bonus for 3 seconds. Oh, and the energy shield's destroyed. That might be good, because does it count every time I hit 0 energy shield? Because I can ping-pong between no energy shield and some energy shield. And keep that damage up. Too bad, it's that one missing perk. Yes, it's a stupid reason, but I don't like giving up potential extra effects. Inoculator. That's not that good, honestly, because I heal when I deal damage anyways, so I'm going to be kind of topping out no matter what. Pyrokinetic staff. I lose loot quantity. Exposed state. Nope, it's garbage. Didn't even have to go past that part. That might be worth unlocking just to see. Nope. Not using guns. Not that good of armor. Not that good of armor. Also not that good. Not that good. Man, I didn't get any Demon Forged. That really sucks. I was really banking on that, but... oh well. Can't always get what you want now, can you? And that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.